What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the second soundtrack to the Transformers movies here within these pitches. Basically, this product is called Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Basically, this particular project is called Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, the album, and it came out in the summer of 2009 in the United States and the spring of 2009 in Europe, pitches like that. So within these ordeals, as far as these fairs going to happen, basically within the particular fair. Now, I reviewed the 2000 Transformers movie soundtrack back in the fall of 2024, pitches like that. I want to get to some more of these within these ordeals. I know that they have soundtracks for at least the first three movies that came out in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, pitches like that. It was kind of within the ordeal. I remember this particular one being notable. Originally, I had this particular album on my I had this album on my old computer from the library as far as this fairs gonna happen, but the particular pitch about it was within those fairs that the computer broke within those aspects. I lost all that music, but I looked within the ordeals. So, particularly this album is seemingly not on Spotify within some type pitches, which is why I gathered it from the library back in the day. But it's within the pitches, as far as saying within those ordeals, I look after here being able to say it is on YouTube pitches like that. But it's just kind of the product that some of these soundtracks are kind of tougher to find within those aspects. So it's just kind of the ordeal. But basically, this is a pretty standard type product here within the pitch. I'm actually trying to gather what particular score I'm going to give this album as far as these fairs going to happen because it has, for the most part, out of the 13 songs on here, I wound up recommending 12 of them. But the thing to keep in mind is just the factoid as far as saying that there's really only one exclusive song or two exclusive songs out of the ones on here, one of which I don't recommend within those pitches. So it's kind of fair. The good news is the fact that you get a brand new Linkin Park song, Chester Bennington in his prime, pitches like that. It's unfortunate that Mike Shinoda doesn't rap or anything like that on here, but at least Chester Bennington on similar type vibes, like the sort of stuff that they were getting ready to do with like their 2010 and 2012 albums. The 2012 album, Living Things, I think. I'm not sure if like the 2010 album. I need to get back into like the early 2010s Linkin Park albums. But I think the 2010 album by Linkin Park is called "Thousand Suns," pitches like that. Then I forget what the 2014 album is called within those pitches, but this is a particular shifting of the tides for Linkin Park as they started to get into more electronic and fairs like that between like the Recharge album from 2013, Zones type fairs. Kind of, I mean, they did a little bit of EDM in like the early 2010s, 2012 around those particular times as well, but it's kind of within the pitch as far as saying this is the sort of stuff as they started getting more techno and phased out of new metal, which was kind of starting to evaporate by their 2007 album Midnights to it's particularly starting to evaporate by their 2007 album Midnights to Midnight as far as this goes on. But yeah, brand new Linkin Park song within those pitches, pretty excellent within the ordeals, more centered within the aspect just the fair. I mean, considering that this was, the concept of the Transformers movie, obviously within the pitch had more, not so much full bound family friendly, but just within the pitch as far as saying just the particular fair, just not being ravenous, kind of within the aspect of like, typical R-rated movie type fashion. I'd say like it can't be within the tones behind it. It's just kind of fair, just a little bit more centered than normal compared to Linkin Park within the absolute viciousness that they could get to within these pitches. But with an excellent touch fair of getting this brand new Linkin Park song with an excellence of it, just within those ordeals as far as that gnarled knockouts within those pitches. Now, the other songs are pretty excellent on here, but it's just kind of pitch as far as saying that this product is minorly subdued within the fashion, like the full bound quality behind it, just because none of these songs are exclusive apart from the first song you hear, New Divide, and the last song you hear, which is just basically like an electronica type song and techno type song, the Transformers song from like the 80s or pitches like that as far as those ordeals going to happen. Now, particularly they pulled off that vibe a lot better on the 2007 type album. It's kind of cheesy on this particular one kind of aspect, but not cheesy in like a dope meme kind of way, pitches like that. This doesn't nail it with the same finesse and fervor like it probably full bound needed to within those pitches. But other than that, there's just some tunes in here. It is unfortunate that there couldn't have been a follow-up single. The thing about this album is it did have the ordeal as far as having a bang-up single. The Linkin Park New Divide single did hit like the top 6 on the Billboard 100, so it was kind of a big deal around the spring and summer 2009 pitches like that. It's kind of the ordeal as far as saying. The unfortunate thing is, for the most part, you pretty much are buying this album solely for that song as far as what's first going to happen, because this is the pitch as far as saying the other ones, like Green Day, despite the fact of dropping an album within the relative same fashion, it's just too bad that they did not package and give like this particular Transformers album like a spare song that maybe was meant for 21st century breakdown that didn't fit the fold as far as what's first going to happen. You would think within the fashion they could have had something extra within those fairs that could have been something within like the vibe, like a frat party, like some of the moments in the movie. They're just a more somber type one. I mean, 21 Guns is on here, which is basically like the 2009 edition of Boulevard of Broken Dreams from 2004. But it's this kind of pitch. I think they probably could have pulled off another vibe. I know Billy Joe Armstrong, some of those folks had another particular one that they could have given this particular album. So it's just kind of unfortunate that it didn't happen just as an extra bonus type treat for 2009 Green Day. It's just kind of fashion. But you basically get cuts from like these rock bands, All American Rejects, some of these type folks in the pitch. Nickelback is on here from their Dark Horse days, pitches like that. So this kind of particular post grunge grunge, some of these type folks on here, other type folks in the pitch behind it. The Fray has a real excellent song on here. The Use has an excellent song on here. Theory of a Dead Man's on here. Folks like that. Cavo's on here. Taking Back Sunday, some of these type folks. Other type ones. Hoobastank is on here in the late shift era for them. Stains on here. Excellent type Baron, Avenged Sevenfold, and Cheap Trick. But it's the pitch as far as saying I'm going to talk about all these songs again. The only song I'm not going to talk about in the same type fashion is just 21 Guns within those pitches, just particularly because I reviewed, at least within the recent type fair of me doing this within a consistent type product since at least the winter 2023 pitches like that. I reviewed 21st Century Breakdown by Green Day back in the winter or spring or so, 2023 pitches like that. So still relatively recent, but just to say that 21 Guns is basically just like a Boulevard of Broken Dreams, like a 2009 type fashion. So excellent standout for Green Day within those ordeals, same sort of fashions. That is a concept album by Green Day. 21st Century Breakdowns, the same sort of pitch, just more like a different era, just more like the 2010s version of American Idiot as far as this goes. Definitely another classic for Green Day, I'd have to say, within those tones. Yeah, the rest of these bands I'm going to talk about with shorter descriptions. Like I said, the only song I don't recommend is just the last song on here, which is just the Transformers The Fallen remix. Which that particular song had the same edge type factor like the original from the 2007 album within those pitches. I probably would have said would have fared better within pitch. Every other song I recommend, so I'm just going to talk about these with shorter type ones because it's just one of the pitch as far as saying every one of these. I don't know if it's full bound. I'm going to get to every last one of these. I mean, it could be 2028, 2031, some of these type pitches. Not really full bound sure when I would get to some of these type ones with the 2008, 2009 albums that they dropped in these pitches. Now, at least a couple of these, like I want to say I reviewed Avenged Sevenfold from 2007 way back in the day, like 2016 or something. It's the same thing with Nickelback, Dark Horse. I reviewed that back in 2017. So some of these type ones I did put descriptions on because I didn't do it this way back in 2017, 2016. But for the most part, some of these type ones like Theory of a Dead Man and Taking Back Sunday, I am particularly interested in the Fray. Like particularly Never Say Never was a song that also popped up on a Sean Kingston mixtape. I was wondering where that particular beat came from. That was a pretty standout type one. Not to say that Sean Kingston couldn't manifest those particular ones, but I had a pretty prolific type production on there that just is interesting. That actually came from another type song within those pitches. I'm going to get to that particular one. Interested to see what the Fray album pitches like that is kind of about. Yeah, Sean Kingston definitely had an excellent song on that. Him doing like a reggaeton type version of that, and the Never Say Never is just an excellent song in general. So it's just a good type pitch. But I look after it here. Some of these just go down the list are pretty excellent. So Burn It to the Ground's a Nickelback song. It's just a gnarled and rev kind of bar hop blitzer to kind of get. It's a gnarled and rev kind of bar hop blitzer kind of get this Nickelback just in venue places like that where you're going to be slamming shots, some type ordeals, excellent type pitches. Almost Easy is an Avenged Sevenfold type song. It's like a raucous and blitzing kind of backyard rumble, I'd say, with an aspect. Just another banger. Pretty much goes in hand with like the Burn It to the Ground type song pitches like that. So both Avenged Sevenfold and Nickelback both Avenged Sevenfold and Nickelback have some rumblers within those aspects for us. The tones they have with the ravenousness. Burning Down the House is a nice one. This is by this is by the Used, which apparently this song is from the 80s as far as this supposed to have. It's excellent type pitch, early 80s at that within those pitches behind it. But this like Red Cup Delights kind of get here, just some techno shredding. I had to say just a hot type one. This goes in pretty good fashion with like the New Divide. Now this particular fair, I do feel like this one has a little bit more description about it. Not to say like I gave it more, but just the pitch as far as saying it should have more than pitch as far as saying just the product, because I don't know the full bound likelihood that just wondering how long it would take to get to like 80s kind of bands from like 40 years ago pitches like that within some type of ordeal. So this is the pitch as far as saying, but the Used, that's a particularly excellent type product that's actually pretty trendy and spiffy for like the concepts of that having came out in 1983 pitches like that. Let It Go is a quality one. This is by Cavo. This is a nice one here. It's like a post-hour kind of drew to have within these aspects. Just have a smoke within these aspects. This nice chat, some of those subtones, just some kickback, hap here and there, kind of romantic pitches like that. Just kind of the pitch that likes them reflect as far as this first kind of episode. Just kind of a more homely and pleasant type one, like the aspect of the aesthetic of something like Third Eye Blind and Marcy Playground, folks like that within those pitches. Just kind of that particular drew, just 4:00 p.m. delights pitches like that within the aspect, just like that typical kind of post grunge wail as far as this pitch can have in good type tones. Never Say Never, like I said, is a real standout on here. It's really too bad that this wasn't exclusive either. But then it's just excellent type pitches. I do want to get to the Fray pitches like that. It's like an excellent kind of moody, solemn, just kind of get with the aspects here. Definitely gave some Linkin Park type vibes. It's definitely like a pop rock kind of Linkin Park. So the same sort of fashion within the aesthetic is like a song like In the End. Definitely that same sort of somber typeness of a rainy day type makeshift ballad pitches like that. Just nails the ordeal. It's a nice makeshift kind of tearjerker as far as this pitch can have. Just tugging type ones that have some excellent type ordeals with it. So good type pitch, like a pop grab pitch, just like that. Not meant to be with Theory of a Dead Man's a nice one on here. This is very almost to a T, similar to Nickelback's, like a vintage kind of 2000s Nickelback, just a post bleak kind of 4 o'clock p.m. kind of dredge. So this really feels like it was by Chad Kroeger within those aspects. It's that same sort of aspect within those particular tones. It's really consistent type form. And this album does have a particular fare of like some rock solid kind of post grunge within those aspects. So just the particular format, despite this coming out in the summer of 2009 when some of that was starting to wear off, is the particular fare that actually Nickelback was pretty red hot around this time, despite the fact that post grunge was kind of, well, I actually do want to say that post grunge from like the early 2000s and Nickelback's more the beginning aspects of Nickelback's ravenous heyday is kind of within the pitch that this did last in like the 2010s. So Nickelback did have consistent for the albums within those pitches, was just some good type fare, just reminiscent, just reflect on like the aspects of like 2001, 2004 type post grunge pitches like that. Was just the same sort of deals that carried on in 2009. Real World by All American Rejects is a nice one. It's like a good combo with Burning Down the House, I'd say, within aspects of it here. Just some residential rumble, I'd say, with an aspect, but also switches later on to like the second verse and like some tracks. It's just kind of commerce. Beginning of the song kind of has the rumble, but maybe it's the aspect of like saying, having some folks be like, hey, we need some of this. We need this particular liquor or something like that. We need you to go pick up some Bacardi or go get a pizza, something like that within those ordeals. So it's just kind of pitch it, just kind of being just the I like the bass kind of guitar pitches like that, nice rumble type aspects at the beginning of the song, but switches later on to like the particular fare, just like more kind of commerce in mind with like that particular post hour and almost emo kind of jostle within those pitches. This is really not as much a full bound kind of emo type album, but definitely has more of like an alt rock kind of vibe as far as this pitch kind of with like a mild kind of emo aesthetics. Not as much full bound to where this is like alternative within a full bound type pitch, but definitely more kind of Chad Kroeger with more of like just an emo particular sheen, just that little bit ruffled about. So it's just the pitch for him was good type aspects. 5 o'clock, 4:30 p.m. kind of post grunge within those aspects with like a punk edge as far as this pitch kind of within relative type sense within pitch. A good type fare, but I look after it. I don't think I love Use a Quality One. No, this is by Hoobastank. Excellent type pitch to get them on there because they weren't as full bound. They were kind of here and there within the spotlight. They had some good type pitches. They do have further type hit albums. I need to get them in general within these pitches with some good type fares. There's like a buttery kind of pink skies, new wave fizz, kind of with the aspects of it here. This actually has some pretty good pop rock type grabs within the pitches. Another type one like Never Say Never and some of those type pitches and particular other ones within the fashion. I'd say that have New Divide definitely have like the aspect like some good fizz kind of grabs, just pop rock pitches like that. I'd say there's some good jive about this one. It's also pretty good, like more or less kind of rave night type bend within the pitch as far as just something in a more soft core type sense. It's kind of almost trance type music, but just the pitch is just like a good groove to kind of have like some dance room type vibes. So it's kind of pitch like some socialize. Not this album would get pretty close to like a 10 out of 10, if not a 10 out of 10, if these songs were actually exclusive to this album within these pitches, because it does have some social bite about this album. I actually think the social score is going to get a pretty higher score compared to like the album within the fashion, like the regular score, just because a lot of these are good in between kind of house party moments, commerce moments, and like snack run type moments, and just new wave kind of dance type moments in pitches like that. So it does have the commotion about it, very festive. And I'd say within the aspects as well, This Is It by Stained is a nice one. It's like a starry kind of This Is It by Stained is like a starry kind of early night things kicking off. I'd say within the aspects of it, just some mild flip modes as far as this is going to happen. So just within the pitch, kind of backyard house party type commotion, just kind of more or less in a center type aspect as well with the pitch. Goes pretty well with New Divide and Burning Down the House. Some of that pitch is just definitely more in like a backyard kind of smoke fest within the ordeals behind it, but just kind of an aspect of just kind of milder with the aspect. I mean, I look within the tone. Stain kind of had some of these type moments. It's interesting within these pitches to kind of see them way out in 2009 because they were another real large popular type one in the early 2000s, like Nickelback's and these type fairs, but it's just kind of pitch like that backyard kind of embrace, just a little bit more mild sauce in the aspect. Not to say full bound, but it's just kind of the product that just got done with things, but not quite as ferocious as gonna be on like your seventh, eighth shot or something as far as this pitch can happen, but just more the fare of just having like one cold drink or two, something like that. And this kind of aspect of just kind of melding into it within those particular fares, but not to say it's full bound like it doesn't have the full bound viciousness, but this kind of aspect. It's kind of a more pleasant and kind of welcoming type flip mode as far as this pitch can happen, or at least accommodating, I would have to say. So it's just an ordeal as far as saying that. So within the fare behind this album, in terms of what I'm going to score, I'd say within the pitch behind it, considering that there's only 2 exclusive songs on this product, one of which I don't recommend. I do recommend 12 out of 13 songs in here, but 11 out of 13 of these are to be found elsewhere within these pitches. And on top of that, just within the fare, I'd have to say is this kind of for the Linkin Park song is definitely pretty vicious and excellent, but within the pitch, as far as whether or not it's worth paying, like whether if it is a more expensive price, like paying $18.99 or $22.99, something like that within those ordeals. Now I realize this album is over 16 years old. I don't think it'd be as full bound expensive to that particular pitch. Was just the fare as far as saying I'm probably going to score this album more or less than the pitch behind it. I mean, it's definitely quality on here. I don't want to negate the score as if it's not a good product because it definitely went in with these fares. It's just the fact that it's kind of like redundant. it's not to say redundant, it's kind of extraneous within certain type of senses apart from the Linkin Park song because so many of these songs would be found elsewhere. Like, yeah, I'm just surprised that they did not try to get anyone else within these ordeals as far as anyone else that what just like I said, they could have gotten a Green Day song or a Nickelback song. They probably would have given them one. So instead, pitch is just kind of fair that there should have been more of that. They do that. I want to say the 2011 album has more fairs, but more in terms of exclusives. I don't know if they have another Linkin Park song, but it's just the pitch first, and we'll get to that one down the road. But this, so I'm gonna give the score of this album like an 8.25 within these pitches because the ravenous type appeal. There are plenty of backyard type moments. It definitely is some good introductory type moments. I was not expecting to come across like the Never Say Never type song. Wouldn't have known about that song more or less within the fair. So it's interesting type pitches that it does. It's kind of one of those type moments that, despite the fact that these are not exclusive, they still are introductory and kind of like a gateway type fare for folks that may not know is full bound with the pitch. It's just like a more or less gateway and starting point type aspect. Not to say starting point as if it's novice or things like that, but just the pitch as far as saying for just the festiveness of just collecting songs that maybe don't have as much full bound type fashion. So it's just the pitch as far as saying I'm still gonna say 8.25 because it's definitely good. It's vicious on here. It's pretty good. Treative at times and good sparkiness in the aspects like backyard type commotion, house party type rumbles, dance and trance type places, pitches like that. Just some good socialized snack runs, errand runs, makeshift pitches like that. And the Linkin Park song is definitely a pretty deadly anchor as far as those first games. So that definitely within the pitch, Chester Bennington really shines through. It's just him in his prime, nailing those hooks and melodies like he usually kind of did within those fairs back in those days. Excellent type pitches. Definite RIP to him as far as those fairs can have. But just from the pitch, so the social score, I'm probably going to give like I'm gonna give the social score like a 9.25 out of 10 or a 9.5. I think I'll give the social score like a 9.25 out of 10, just once again because the exclusive. I mean, the quality is definitely on here. Has some blitzers, plenty of these type moments for like festivities. It gets pretty ravenous within certain type senses. It does keep like a certain particular type theme of being at least centered to the point where you at least have some degree of control with an aspect of not cutting loose to the point of having issues and things like that. But it's just kind of fair as far as saying it's just the product that, if there had been more exclusives, it probably would have gotten a 10. That's the only thing that's not the lack of exclusives is really the only thing that's stopping this product from getting like a classic score pitch like that. It's kind of the ordeal that's pretty much like the dead weight about this album, the main thing to complain about. But other than that, the Linkin Park song is pretty blistering pitches like that. So in terms of the future, so 9.25 social, 8.25 score within those pitches. So in terms of the future, like Linkin or Transformers does have a sequel to this movie, which I forget what it's called, but it's like Dark of the Moon or something like that. That one came out in 2011. So there are further type fairs. There's 3 for 3 with these soundtracks. There might be more of these later on with more of the Transformers movies that came out later on within those pitches. But it's just the fair same within the excellence this is. I would say this is a classic if it had more material. It's definitely pretty banging. Has a good get up and composition. Songs with an excellence behind it. It just didn't keep them for themselves. But the Linkin Park song is pretty severe pitches like that. So this does have at least a relative treat within those aspects. And it's not to say the Transformers Fallen remix is that horrible. It's just kind of more on the cheesy type side. But it's just the pitch for saying if they had pulled off that execution a little bit better, it probably would have got bolstered even further. But this is pretty. This is a solid enough look more than it isn't. So within the fair behind it, I forgot to talk about the Linkin Park song "New Divide" as far as it's they have with the descriptions. So within those pitches, definitely recommend this song. I talked about it within like the interlude pitches like that, or the intro to this review as far as it's they have. But talking about it within the description, this is a definite nice one here. New Divide is like a battalion and gripping kind of Linkin Park with like a techno edge about it as far as this is going to happen. Just raving but centered as far as this is going to happen along with it. It's definitely a product like some backyard type noise pitches like that. It's a typical type ravenous or also some dance venue type crazes pitches like that within the ordeal places where you'd hear techno in like a more light type sense, kind of more fizzy within the aspect, a little bit more vanilla snap about it within the aspect, but definitely pretty blistering considering the new direction that Linkin Park was getting ready to go on, right? But definitely pretty blistering within the aspect of the direction that Linkin Park was getting ready to go in as far as this first half. So definitely in the pitch as far as saying this is the sort of direction that they would go in with like the Thousand This is the manic and exhilarating type direction that Linkin Park would go in with like the Thousand Suns album, the Living Things album, the Hunting Party albums from the early 2010s as far as this first album. So definitely within the pitch as far as getting that particular knockout type of feel within pitches like that. But yeah, just a very fizzy type one, dude. Definitely like the ordeal. This song was definitely a big deal around the time. This is one of Linkin Park's largest charting songs within those ordeals, almost as high charting as In the End pitches like that. Sounds like ones. I think Menace to Midnight had a few of those type fairs as well, but definitely excellent type pitch. Kind of a conduit type within the pitch behind it because they did not drop again until Linkin Park album didn't come out for 3 years and from like the spring of 2007 to like the fall or so or late summer of 2010 pitches like that. So it's kind of the ordeals as far as saying some excellent type aspects beyond to get towards those tones, but just a good type one within the aspect of just like basically getting like backyard type noise from Linkin Park within those aspects as far as those tones can have with like a techno type flair about it within the pitch behind it. But just kind of it's a rave type song more or less, but it's just kind of within a vanilla type aspect enough to have some chart appeal where it's not as full bound kind of blitzkrieg type ravenous, but it is a good nice treat for like the aspect like those relative varieties. So excellent type pitch within those formats. We have this album 8.25 score, pitches like that, 9.25 sociable within pitch. This is a pretty center type one, and it is probably worth the purchase nowadays within this ordeals, despite the fact this rest of the sound doesn't have more exclusive, but still a banging type heater from Linkin Park and things like that.